You're sitting alone in a waiting room, or maybe you're lying on your couch after a long day. The conversation is ended. The television is off. The room becomes completely quiet. For just a few seconds, there is nothing demanding your attention. No notifications, no voices, no distractions. And almost automatically, your hand reaches for your phone. Not because you needed something important, but because silence itself started to feel uncomfortable. We usually call this boredom. We tell ourselves it's just a habit, or maybe a lack of discipline. But what if something deeper is happening? What if the reason we constantly search for distractions isn't because our minds are weak, but because most of us have never learned how to sit alone with our own thoughts? When the outside world becomes silent, the inside world becomes louder. And for many people, that is the place they are trying to escape. So why does your own mind sometimes feel like the hardest place to be? To understand that, we need to look at what your brain does when everything else disappears. This discomfort with stillness is not just a modern observation. Researchers have actually studied what happens when people are left completely alone with their thoughts. In a well-known study from the University of Virginia, participants were placed in a quiet room with nothing to do. No phones, no books, no conversations, just themselves and their own minds. And something surprising happened. Many people found the experience extremely uncomfortable. Some participants even preferred giving themselves a mild electric shock instead of simply sitting alone with their thoughts. But why? Why would just a few minutes of silence feel so difficult? For a long time, scientists assumed that when we stopped focusing on the outside world, the brain entered a quiet resting state. But neuroscience revealed something completely different. When external distractions disappear, your brain doesn't switch off. In many ways, it becomes more internally active. A network of brain regions begins working quietly behind the scenes. Neuroscientists call this the default mode network. And this network helps create something deeply human, the ability to reflect on ourselves. The default mode network is most active when your attention turns inward. When you remember moments from your past, imagine possible futures, think about other people, or try to understand your own experiences. In a way, it is the brain's storytelling system. It takes memories, emotions, and personal experiences and connects them into the ongoing story of who you are. This ability is one of the reasons humans are so unique. Your mind can travel backward and learn from yesterday. It can travel forward and prepare for tomorrow. It can imagine situations that haven't even happened yet. This internal simulation helped human beings survive. Our ancestors could remember past dangers, predict future problems, and understand their place within a social group. But the same system that helps us learn and prepare can also create suffering. Because when the mind has no external task to focus on, it doesn't always create peaceful thoughts. Sometimes it returns to unfinished conversations, old mistakes, future worries, questions without clear answers. The brain that evolved to solve problems will sometimes search for problems even in moments of safety. And this is one reason silence can feel uncomfortable. Because when the outside world becomes quiet, you finally hear everything your mind has been carrying. And this is where modern life enters the story. For most of human history, moments of silence were unavoidable. Walking alone, waiting, sitting without stimulation, letting the mind wander. But today, for the first time in history, we have the ability to escape almost every empty moment. A few seconds of discomfort can disappear with a single touch, a notification, a message, a video, an endless stream of something new. Modern technology isn't powerful because humans became weaker. It's powerful because it connects perfectly with systems that were already inside the brain. One of those systems involves dopamine. Contrary to what many people believe, dopamine is not simply a chemical of pleasure. It plays an important role in motivation, anticipation, and seeking rewards. Your brain becomes especially interested in unpredictable rewards. Maybe the next notification is important. Maybe the next video is interesting. Maybe the next refresh shows something new. That uncertainty keeps the mind engaged. And slowly, without realizing it, we train ourselves to fill every quiet space, every pause, every moment where we might have been alone with our thoughts. The problem is not that technology exists. Technology is a tool. The deeper question is, what are we constantly using it to avoid? Over time, this constant stimulation changes our relationship with attention. The human brain was not designed for an environment where something new appears every few seconds. A new message, a new image, a new piece of information, a new reason to shift focus. Every switch feels small, almost meaningless, but attention is not unlimited. Each time your focus moves from one thing to another, your brain needs time to fully adjust. Researchers call part of this effect attention residue. A piece of your mind remains connected to what you were previously doing, even after you have moved on. And this is why constant distraction can leave you feeling mentally tired, even when you haven't done anything physically exhausting. But perhaps the biggest thing we lose is not just focus, it's our ability to be still. Because boredom is not just an empty state. For generations, quiet moments allowed people to reflect, to process emotions, to connect ideas, to understand themselves. Some of the mind's most important work happens when nothing obvious seems to be happening. A quiet walk, a few minutes without a screen, a moment where you simply allow your thoughts to exist. These moments may feel uncomfortable at first, because your mind finally has space to speak. But maybe the goal was never to silence the mind. Maybe the goal was to understand what it has been trying to say. The human mind is not designed to be completely silent. It remembers, it imagines, it questions. It creates stories about who we are and who we might become. That is not a flaw. It is one of the most extraordinary abilities of the human brain. But sometimes, we become so absorbed in the stories our mind creates that we forget something important. A thought appearing in your mind does not mean you have to follow it. A worry appearing in your mind does not mean it represents reality. Your brain is constantly trying to predict, protect, and prepare. But you can also learn to observe. Maybe the real problem was never that our minds became too active. Maybe it's that we stopped giving ourselves enough quiet moments to understand them. Because silence is not always emptiness. Sometimes, silence is where you finally notice what has been happening beneath the noise. And perhaps self-awareness doesn't begin when you finally control every thought. Maybe it begins when you learn to see your thoughts clearly, without immediately running away from them. Because understanding your mind is the first step toward changing your relationship with it. And that is exactly what we explore here at Awareness Abode. Not motivation, not quick fixes, but a deeper, clearer understanding of the mind you already have and how it actually works. If this kind of thinking resonates with you, consider subscribing. Every week, we explore psychology, neuroscience, human behavior, and self-awareness, so you can stop being confused by your own mind and start understanding it. I'll see you in the next one.